Alright, welcome back to PC Building Simulator. We are back in the Overclockers UK workshop. We are not in free build. We are in the regular campaign. I thought, you know what? I want to check back into the regular campaign. I've had a couple requests to get back into it. So we're here in Tim's Red Hot Repairs. My uncle, I don't know why I don't change the business name. And we got some deliveries. It's fun that they say Overclockers UK. But I thought we'd do the regular campaign for a little bit. This is going to be sort of like an informal video. We're just going to do a couple missions and whatnot. But I also wanted to talk about the RTX 3080 that I just put in my PC. If you haven't seen the video, go back, I guess, like a couple videos. And I did like an actual real non-video game video where I got a Founders Edition RTX 3080. And we installed it in my real-life machine. It was kind of fun. I think it was a challenge to do a video that was not, you know, recording my gameplay. So if there were any video quality or audio quality issues, sorry. But it was the first time for us, so be sure to go watch that if you're interested in it. But we're just going to talk a little bit about the RTX 3080 today. Talk about the performance. Talk about my setup. I don't know. We're going to do a few missions. So just to kind of catch us up here, I've got a few missions going on. I had to kind of jump back in and remember what was going on. I've got a few parts coming in for these three clients. We got like dead power supply, some graphics card replacement, and like a RAM replacement. I think I was able to replace one of them with a used graphics card I had. So yeah, we can check out this. Let's see. Let's jump over here. Which one is this? RAM? This is RAM. Okay, so we had to get some new G-Skill rip jobs for 2800 megahertz. So we should be good there. I had to also replace the graphics card, but I had a used GTX 1060 that was actually a bit of an upgrade from the R9 390 they were using. So we're good there. This person didn't seem to care about used parts. So we did that. Oh, I'm so used to having the auto screw tool. So that's ladder boat. Ladder boat? Ladder boat? Ladder boat. Oh, plastic purple cables. Great. Oh, I think I might have visited one too many dodgy sites. I forgot to buy cables. I'm guessing I don't have plastic purple cables. Let's look. Let's just make sure. Come on. Give it to me. Oh, I do. Wow, that's rare. I thought they were pink because they look pink, but apparently they're purple. Okay, so we can run a virus scan. And we'll replace the cables here from these macaroni and cheese colored ones to purple ones that are actually more pink. In my opinion. We got one more macaroni and cheese there. We good? Oh, I see one down there somewhere. Let's just look around the back here. What do we got? What do we got? Here we got an S340 Elite. Similar case to mine. I just have the regular S340. We'll talk about that a little bit because I've got... If you saw the video where I installed the Founders Edition RTX 3080 in my computer, you would have seen, or if you already knew, because I've kind of mentioned it before, I've also built my computer in PC Building Simulator before, and maybe I'll have to do an update on that since I don't really get to do updates on it very often. Whenever they add RTX 3000 to PC Building Simulator, maybe they're going to wait for the 3070 to drop, which would make sense, or maybe they're going to wait for this next gen of Ryzen, the 5000 series Ryzen CPUs to get out of the game and just do it all in one fell swoop. I don't know what the plan is exactly. Okay, but let's do... Alright, we're good to do our virus scan. But I guess we'll see. Whenever they do that, though, I'll have to go back around and we'll do sort of an update in PC Building Simulator building my computer. I can't do it perfectly because, like, my motherboard's not exactly here. But I can actually get really close for the most part, so... virus scanner, okay, we should be good on the hardware side, so we can close the side of this. But, yeah, so my computer is built in the S340, NZXT S340, non-elite, so it doesn't have the tempered glass side panel. It doesn't have this 2.5-inch SSD like drive bay on the front. Otherwise, though, it's the same layout. It's got the cool NZXT bar to hide cables and whatnot. It's been a good case. I would not say it is the best airflow case. And to be honest, before when I was running a GTX 1070 Strix Edition, I really wasn't that aware. Like that card just ran really cool. It really didn't have any issues. You know, it's like loaded up. Like I would pretty much never go over 65C on the GTX 1070. And now with an RTX 3080, a card that has, it's like what, 350 watts potentially, it gets hot. It gets really hot. And I sort of am more aware now of the shortcomings of the S340 and its cooling ability. I'm trying to remember what we're doing here. Oh, look, another S340. Yep, Elite again as well. This one needs a power supply. Yeah, and I've got that. So, but yeah, it's not terrible. It's not a terrible case for. Let's remove this stupid cable. That's the worst thing because I gotta put the bracket back on. That's not it. That's not it. But it's actually a good chance to look at it, I guess, because it's not like the worst case ever. But if you look at the top, you see how there's a slot here for the intake on the S340. So there's one at the top, there's one at the bottom. That's as much space as there is. You know, it's this panel gap that allows you to intake air through the front. And I have a 240. I have a 240 mil rad on the front. That's my AIO. It's that Corsair H100i Pro something. I don't know. AIO. And so that's the intake. The 2 intake fans. We've got a 140 fan up top for exhaust. We got a 120 out back for exhaust. So yeah, it's not like a super good airflow case. And I actually have the front panel of mine pulled off. So you've still got. I guess we can just pull the panel off. So I got like this. This is what it looks like. Obviously, I have the side panel, but like this is what my case looks like right now. So you still got the dust filter, which is great, but then right behind it is the radiator with the 2 fans pulling in, so intake. And I've definitely had to adjust my like AIO fan curve to make sure that it's intaking enough air because because the GPU. Well, I mean, it's so like the AIO is set to obviously spin up when the CPU gets hot. The problem is sometimes the GPU gets really hot and it really needs intake air, and the AIO is not working that hard. It depends on what we're doing. So I've had to do some things with the curve to make sure that the AIO is actually pulling in air reasonably well at all times. It's actually pretty quiet though in general, so it's not been too bad. But I guess the big thing, so my CPU is a 7700K, right? Hey, good company background, that's fun. Okay, what are we doing? Well, is this done? Are we happy? Gordon Phillips? I'm just gonna read this quick. Sorry, we're jumping around a lot. This is like, you know, it's like a lot going on. Okay, I did Silverstone. Okay, I think he doesn't want used. I think we're good there. Okay, this one's good. We're just gonna button this one up. But yeah, so my CPU is a 7700K, which I've said is like not ideal. RTX 3080 and a 7700K. The 7700K came out in what, the start of 2017, I think. Is that right? The start of 2017 was quickly followed, like within like 9 months. They came out with the 8700K, and the 8700K was 6-core. So was it 6-core 6-thread? I can't remember. Did it have hyper-threading? I mean, the 7700K does. It's 4-core, 8-thread. I can't remember. Is it 6-core, 12-thread? But it had an extra 2 cores. And so if you bought a 7700K, you were like, wow. Like, just a few months later, you were like, I'm really sad. Even though the 8700K like didn't have a real like big run or anything, yeah, you quickly were like, oh, I feel foolish. So it's not like the most ideal CPU. And I mentioned the video where I install the card that I play at 1440p, and I have a 144 hertz G-Sync monitor, which has worked really well. The 3080 is a monster. You guys have asked like, how's the card? How is it? Yeah, it's kind of a monster. Oh, I did really not complete the case on this person's. What? That's embarrassing. Obviously, I can't do more than one thing at a time. The 3080 is it's a monster. Oh, I see. GPU bracket, great. It's very powerful. Duh. I mean, yeah. So what happens is, as I was afraid, if I'm playing at 1440p, in a lot of titles, the CPU is like, oh, sweet Lord, please, please. Missing cables? Oh my gosh, I'm doing so badly. Missing cables? What? What do you mean? Where? Missing cables? SSD. What? Okay. Yeah, in a lot of games, the CPU is like pegged, and the GPU is like, yeah, you know, it's like maxed out 1440p, like trying to hit the GPU as hard as possible. Like a couple examples, like I've been playing Watch Dogs 2 a little bit in anticipation for Watch Dogs Legion coming out, which you get for free with the RTX 3080. Cool. Oh, I have to boot this again. Oh my god, this is absolutely terrible. I forgot I have to boot this again to make sure it's gonna work. Power. So I've been playing Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 2 is actually kind of a CPU intensive game though, I will say, but playing at 1440p, I don't know what kind of frame rates I was getting. I don't remember, like, well, you know, 90 plus, which is still great, but like the 3080's like chilling. It's like 50% utilization maybe, and the 7700K is just pegged, just absolutely pegged. And I've got it overclocked to 5 gigahertz too, which helped, but it's just like it maxed. And that it depends a lot on the title. Like, or I play like Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a game that actually is one of the few games that can really stress the 3080 super well with my setup. And the CPU can hang, but it is like right there. And sometimes I'll get a little frame limit, and I think it's probably the CPU, but the GPU actually gets, you know, 3080 actually gets utilized a lot. What is this, just all S340 Elites today? It's weird. What's this one? Replace CPU. Oh my gosh, GPU. Okay. Wow. I've also got this one. I think I've got the parts for this. We just need to replace the graphics card with a newer, with a new 960 gaming. Yeah, there's the old one. Broken. So yeah. Oh, vertical mount. We could just switch it up on them. We shouldn't do that. Oh, we should probably plug this in. So yeah, so I mean, okay, how's the RTX 3080? Oh, you're getting pink cables apparently. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's super great, honestly. It's a complete monster. Like, so what I've done now, because 1440p, oh boy, no RAM. The RAM's also dead. I didn't know that. No. Oh, the GPU and the RAM are dead. Okay. Well, we can order more. That's fine. He doesn't want to use parts though. Dark 8 gig 2066. I'm like jumping around so much. I'm sorry. Maybe this was a bad idea. Maybe this is too many things to be talking about at once. I'll just do a blank video where I just talk about my no. Let's see. T-Force Team Group. That'll get us there. 8 gig 3000 megahertz. That's an upgrade. It was 8 gig 2066. It was this. Yeah. But yeah, so what I've done, because I've normally been playing 1440p 144 hertz, right? That G-Sync monitor, it's really great. I really kind of prefer high refresh rate. I think 1440p, it's a 27-inch. It's a nice resolution, and it's a good pixel density. It's still, I mean, it looks amazing for games. I would say, like, productivity-wise, you might want to go higher resolution. Like, when I'm working, I actually really kind of prefer, like, 4K 27-inch. It's nice. But for gaming, I will take high refresh rate 1440p over 4K. But despite that, because of the CPU bottlenecking and the fact that I want to utilize the GPU a little more, and I have a 4K monitor that I had been using at work, but now that I'm working at home because of coronavirus, yeah, I switched. I have both on my desk right now, but I'm using the 4K monitors as my main. In fact, like right now I'm playing PC Building Simulator in 4K. The video will export at 1080p, but it's 4K. I'm playing at 4K. It's so sharp. Oh my gosh, it's so crisp. It's really not that different, but we're locked at 60 FPS 4K. And so like, just to give you an idea, like PC Building Simulator, not the most intensive game ever, but we are at max settings. Can I look at the settings? Yeah. Fantastic. We're at fantastic settings. 4K. VSync is on just to make sure the frames get limited to 60, because otherwise it'll blow like 100. It was doing like 120 FPS if it wanted to. It can do it, but we're not going to do that. So right now, utilization though, like the game, like 25% on the GPU. So yeah, like the 3080s, it's doing fine. But I will say, one thing I've had to kind of wrestle with, besides the CPU bottlenecking issue, which we'll see what happens with that, by the way, too. Like, obviously, Zen 3 just got announced this week. They just had their event where they kind of announced Zen 3, the 5000 series of Ryzen. The 5900X is a, what was it, 12-core, 24 thread, I think, right? And the 5950X is a 16-core, 24 thread, I think. Is that right? I can't remember. That might even be like not enough cores and threads. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Like, I've wanted to upgrade, and like you guys know too, like my memory's not in dual channel because my AIO died, and I think something happened with the motherboard, and so I can't run in dual channel. I can't post. So with that, I guess. yeah, I don't know. Maybe a CPU upgrade at some point. I just got to, like, you know, be able to pay for it and stuff. We could just go ahead and turn these in, too. So we'll see. Eventually, we'll see how that goes. I'm curious to see how benchmarks work. You know, holidays come up. Maybe we'll make it happen. We'll see. I don't want to spend, like, a ton of money. Because, you know, the 3080 was kind of expensive. So, oh, I accept a 3D Mark 1 because I wasn't thinking. I don't accept those. Yep, I'll take you. What else? I thought I went else to. There it is. Okay. 4 stars? No. No. I did everything. Oh. No. Well, that's dumb. So yeah, I don't know. At some point, we'll see. CPU upgrade, right? So like that's a big issue. 7600K is bottlenecking the 3080. That's fine. But the other thing that's been interesting is just temps. Like I said, the Strix 1070. I think I was a little spoiled by how good that card was at cooling, and also just like it's not the most like power hungry card, and where the 3080 is kind of power hungry. So we've done a few things. Like I said, I took out the front panel in the S340, so took out that front panel. So that's good. That's helped. That has definitely helped reduce a restriction for intake. That has helped. Also, if you look around the back here, right? So pretend that this is a 3080. If you can think of how a 3080 works, we've got that fan on the bottom of the 3080 on the side that's closest to the I/O. It pulls air up and exhausts it out the back. The other one pulls it straight up through that front heatsink. So we'll just focus on the back one. The one on the back, it pulls it up and it exhausts it out the I/O side of it. So if you look at the S340, and this is pretty common in a lot of cases, we've got these PCI brackets, and then we've got the separators that are separating the actual bracket. Well, this separator, which is not removable, it blocks that exhaust vent on the card. And so I took a file to it and removed it because I was like, it might help a little bit, and it's not really providing any structural support that the card needs, and the card does not sag at all in the first place, and it's totally fine now. So I took that out. That's also helped a little bit with temps. So we filed that out, and we took out the front panel, and that's helped with temps a little bit. And then the rest is kind of tuning some fan curves just to make sure there's more fresh air coming into the case all the time, regardless of kind of where the CPU is at, because the AIO and those fans on the AIO are looking at the CPU by default. So that's helped a bit, but I will say the card gets hot. Like I said, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the games that can really peg the GPU, and so like if we go into Red Dead and let it heat soak and everything, I mean, we can do 80C, which I am not used to, and like it is crazy. It fills the room with heat when it is just slamming hot air out of the back, and you can just feel all the hot air coming out of that top fan, especially because that's that 140, so a lot of air can come out the top. We got a little bit of convection. Again, it's not the best case for airflow, but it's crazy how much more heat my system outputs now with this card. It's not surprising. I totally should have thought of it. I just didn't really like think of it consciously that like, wow, this is gonna be really hot. So yeah, so that's been interesting. I don't know. At some point, I'm like, S340, you've been awesome, but maybe a case that's more airflow focused, I think would benefit. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where we're at with the 3080. It's great. It's magical, honestly, because every game it's just like max settings, no problem. And then I look at the utilization, it's just hilarious because it's barely doing anything. Which is why I'd like to switch back to high refresh rate, because that's really where you're going to get the utilization. But I need a CPU that can hang, that can really hang. And it's super title dependent too. Like that's for sure. Like I played Forza Horizon 4, which is again, it's pretty well optimized. At 1440p on my 144 hertz monitor, and that game I can basically do 120 FPS, 110, 120 FPS pretty reliably in that game. Obviously not maxing out the 144 hertz of that monitor, but pretty darn good. And I think like racing games really benefit from high refresh rate. So, you know, I still would love to see it just max 144 hertz, like using the GPU completely, but the CPU just isn't there yet. It's just, it can't handle it. So, and I forgot, another thing we've done to handle temperature. This is actually probably one of the more significant things we've done. So maybe you've read this, but the 30 series does pretty well with undervolting. And so, I've undervolted mine, especially because I'm not slamming that GPU in a lot of titles because it's just got so much headroom. So we've undervolted it, and so it's like I can use like 40 plus less watts, And with that, it gets a lot less hot. So even like right now, playing PC Building Simulator, like I said, not at high utilization really, but we're at 60C. And that's been helped by the undervolts. So done some undervolting. There's a little bit of an overclock and an undervolt, which is kind of cool. So we're actually hitting a little bit higher performance while using less power. So, and I think that'll continue to get better as drivers get updated and everything. But that's helped temps too. And it'll definitely help temps when we start to really slam the GPU in certain titles, or if we get to the point where we're doing higher refresh rates. So I guess this has just been sort of like an update. People have been asking a lot, how's the 3080? How's the 3080? What's the 3080 like? You maxed out in all games, blah, you know, all this stuff. And I would say, yes, I maxed out in all games. The graphics card has almost never been a limitation. I'm trying to think if there's any title where it's been a limitation. Red Dead is maybe one of the only places, being a very demanding game. I'm trying to think what other games I have that are really demanding. Flight Sim. Been playing Microsoft Flight Sim a little bit. That is also a pretty CPU bound title. So again, the CPU ends up being my limitation there. And that's really not uncommon even if I had a pretty like a nicer CPU. There's a good chance like that's a CPU intensive title. So yeah, the 3080 is good. It's great. It's wonderful. I love it. It's just making some of the other parts of my system seem a little bit sad at this point. The 7600K is, it's been great, but it's also, you know, 4 years old, three and a half, almost 4 years old. So yeah, all right. Well, I don't know. This was sort of a weird, like mumbling, rambling nonsense video, but hopefully it's been interesting, helpful, and let me know what other questions you guys have about the 3080 or about anything. And we just did like, I don't know, we did like what, 2 jobs? That was terrible. That was the worst mechanics job ever. So either way, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you guys have other questions I can try to answer in other videos, hopefully in a little bit like more organized format. And yeah, if you like this video and you see more like it, be sure to subscribe. And either way, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. See you.